Hey everybody, it's Josie. Welcome back to Cedar Creek Homestead. I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. It's been really sunny here and pretty, a little bit chilly. I'm kind of chilled just a little bit. We had a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Sunny, just gorgeous, but wet. Here we're at Cedar Creek, it's wet. Wasn't able to get out and mow. A lot of people around here can't mow. A lot of people in Oklahoma and other places too, their places are still, their yards and stuff are still underwater. And I have places in my yard and in my property that have standing water on them. And it's just because of the terrain, the way that my farm kind of lays is the reason why. We do get flash flooding here on Cedar Creek. When the waters are up everywhere and it's raining really heavy, we do have flash flooding, but it usually goes down pretty quickly, and it floods over by the creek. It doesn't usually flood up here at my house, but we do have standing water when we have heavy rains and the ground is already saturated. It takes a while for the water, of course, to go down. And so that's where I'm at. That's the purpose. That's the reason why I haven't been able to mow here, is it's just simply too wet. I have garden plants that need to go into the garden, but there again, you would sink up to your knees if you tried to get out in the garden right now. So I'm, babying my plants and watering them, and I still have weeds to pull out in the garden. My goodness, it's been 2 or 3 weeks since you've been able to really get up there and do anything in the garden because it being so wet. And so weeds have taken over, and I didn't even finish getting all the weeds cleaned up from the winter time. And so I've got a lot of work to catch up on, but hey, it'll all be good for me, won't it? I had a funeral to go to this morning, and I got back here this afternoon, and I was thinking about what to spend time talking to y'all about, and this has been on my mind for a while. I began to think about this the other day, and a lot of us are prepared. A lot of us prep. We put things up, not just food and not just having water and ways to get more water and ways to clean our water, but other supplies too. But I got to thinking about what we've got, and we've all been pushing, keep putting back, keep preparing, keep doing all this stuff. And I thought about what we would do, you and I, if we went to, we laid our heads down to rest this evening in full confidence that we'd done a good job of making preparations and doing all these things, growing gardens, or at least working on growing gardens when we can get into our garden space. If we were confident about that, or maybe you're one that you haven't done anything yet, but you've been hearing people talk about it and it's been stirring you up in your spirit, knowing that you need to, and you haven't started yet, but tomorrow you're going to start, which is a good thing. Start. You're a little bit behind, but start. What would we do? And this is for all of us, me included. If we got up in the morning and for whatever had happened in the night, no longer were we going to be able to get any shipments here to the United States of anything. That sounds drastic, but I think that sometimes it helps us to work out some scenarios and make some plans. Not that we always need to stay in that, because we need to stay in the present and live today. But sometimes when we think about things, it helps us to kind of make a plan, make a game plan, make a plan on some of the things that we would do. And I want to ask you, where would you be? Where would you and your family be if tomorrow morning you woke up and the announcement went out that no longer would there be any ships coming from anywhere, not just one country that's, that we might be kind of fussing with, but anywhere. There wasn't going to be any imports into this country. where would you be on your preparations? Would you instantly think, I've not done anything? Today was the day I was going to start. Or would you be thinking, well, okay, we're good. You'd be able to assess your plans and say, you know, we're good. We weren't 100%. And I don't know that anybody ever gets to 100%. But, you know, you might think, well, you know, we're pretty good. We got most things. I wish that I got a little bit more of this, but we'll be okay. And we've got a garden growing, and you know, we've got this and we've got that. Some for sure will be in better shape than others. But what would you do? What would be the first thing that you would do? Where would your mind instantly go to? Would you start panicking? Or would you start preparing, thinking that you need to do this, this, and this, and have a quick checklist of, okay, now that this has happened, I know that I need to put this into play, and I need to put this into play, and I need to put this into play. People that plan, people that think about things, people that make preparations, oftentimes have a backup plan, a plan B, just like we do with when we have our the supplies that we have. You know, we know that we want backups to our backups to our backups. And sometimes we need to say, okay, I've got this backup, but now what am I going to do? We would instantly have to go to work. And I believe that there probably, more than likely, would be a lot of panic. But hopefully there would be a lot of people that have made preparations and would be able to be level-headed. I know that in the panic, there would be runs on stores. People thinking about the things that they need to get, because we know that there's only so much product in the back, right? And if they're not receiving any more shipments, then when it's all gone from there, it's gone. So I wouldn't want to be one of those persons that would be caught out at the store trying to grab everything that I could grab possibly off the shelf. And I know that that would be probably something that would happen, especially if you don't have a plan. If you went with no plan, with the panic on, there's nothing else, you know good and well that you're going to be grabbing stuff off of the shelves. You're not going to be selective about it. You're just going to be shoving stuff into your cart. And it's not just groceries. It's everything. It's the pharmacy. It is, you know, not just your prescriptions, but your first aid stuff. And it's clothing and shoes and farm supplies. Even even farm stores would probably be overrun. Probably the, you know, your home improvement stores. People would be trying to get tools and trying to get generators and trying to get all the things that they could think about that they would possibly need. Because if you went to the store and knowing that all of the things that are their country of origin is somewhere besides the United States, those things are no more. They're going to be gone. And so I ask you, what would it be? What would it be that you would go after, if you would even go? What would it be that you would be willing to enter the fray, to maybe possibly even risk your life to go after? Now, this scenario that I'm presenting to you is not something to cause fear, but it is to get you to think. Maybe even think outside the box. Think about ways that you could make contributions to your pantry. Make a way, bulk up your supplies. Do all the things. Your gardening, and you know, what are the things that you have it in your mind, you have it on your list, but you haven't gotten yet, and you may not get if this scenario was to play out. Now, all of us know that you can stock like nobody's business. And if the products don't return to the shelf in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. Even those of us that have prepared. What about restock? How do you restock when you run out? If there's no products that are imported, how do you restock? Well, you know that you can grow a garden, an orchard. You can forage. You can fish. You can hunt. You can do those things. You can, figure out how to get a milk cow and provide your dairy products and get milk for your children, your grandchildren. You can do those kind of things. But you're going to have to develop some skills pretty quickly to be able to do that. We know that a large portion of the country live in the city. And the idea of having big farm animals in the city is probably an unlikely scenario. So you're going to have a way, a means to get the products that you need. We know that there are a lot of things that are imported that makes it possible for people to have jobs here at stores and factories and other places, that the product and the supplies coming from another area that might be distributed here, that might be finished being made here. But if you're not able to get one of the parts or some of the parts or all the parts from the foreign nations, what would you do? Now, this doesn't just play into to America. If you're in another country, you can figure the same scenario where you're at. What if your country didn't get any imports and you had to rely only on what your country could provide? Think about your country and what kind of preparations that you've made for you and your family, but what other preparations has your country made? Is there a way to get fuel, and there's a way, so that you can go back and forth to work or wherever it is that you have to go, or the things that they would need to make repairs to the electric grid, or whatever the case may be, or your water treatment facility. So I've been thinking about this scenario for a while. What if we woke up and there were no imports? There would be a lot of things that would almost instantly be gone. I think the biggest thing for me right now, because I have prepared, and Howie prepared, Blade and Cheyenne, when they were here, we all worked together and prepared, and we've got garden, we're able to garden, we've got our tools, and we've got things that we need to do all of that, thank the Lord. But I think for my own personal self, what would affect me is pharmaceuticals. That, if you take medications, if you, have prescriptions, a lot, maybe not all of them, but a lot of those prescriptions come from other areas. They're imported into the U.S. And that would be something that would be hard for us to figure out how to get around that, what to do. And so I think that drives me to, number one, work on being as healthy as I can. And number two, we should really study up on things that can help us naturally, things that we can grow, things that we can do that would help us to feel better. If a scenario like this was to happen, I think that we would very quickly figure out how important community really is. How important it is to know your neighbors and to know your church members and to have good, solid relationships with people, because I think that very quickly we would find out that we had to work within the local community, and you would have to know who did what. Do you have beekeepers? Do you have people that have cows that milk and have a way to get that milk? Do you have people that 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 raise livestock, and they're able to do things with that livestock that maybe you can't do and that can provide for you? Are there people that grow vegetables that would be willing to sell vegetables to you, or fruits and berries or whatever they might have? Are there things that you could do? Maybe you can sew, and so you could repair clothing and items for people, and they could and they did another service, and you were able to trade clothing repair for maybe I don't know, canned foods or whatever the case may be. I think that it would come down to a lot of local support for one another. And I think that we need to learn to be good stewards with our time. The time that we've been given, we need to be responsible with that time, manage that time so that we're able to make our best efforts in all of the things that we need to be working on for ourselves and to be able to help others. Now, depending on how long this time took on no imports into the country, there are things that we are going to realize very quickly. That it wouldn't be just the imported items that left the shelves. It would also be the items that we made right here. And, you know, there would probably still be a lot of product being made here in the U.S., although we don't make near the products that we used to. But without having all the imported items, there's going to be a lot of people that are buying all of the things. We know that we would be facing empty store shelves, and so that would mean when you go to need to restock items, depending on how long this scenario lasted, depending on how long this lasted that you couldn't get any product, restocking would be a big challenge, even to those that had made preparations. I thought about that when I was working on a recipe today. I love hummus, and that's a recent discovery for me. I always thought, oh, I wouldn't like that, but I really do. And roasted red pepper hummus is one of my favorites to eat with vegetables, carrots and celery and those little lunchbox peppers and tomatoes. I really, really like that hummus dip. And it has different ingredients that go in it. You know, you make it with chickpeas, and it has tahini paste, and it has garlic and lemon, and then if you want to make like roasted red pepper hummus, or there's all kinds of recipes that you can put in there, or all kinds of items that you can put in there and change it. But one of the things I thought about was we're used to just going, you know, when there's a special recipe that we have, we're used to being able to go to the store and just get something, for instance, like tahini paste, and make our recipe. So there would be another challenge for us in our families, and we need to think about it now versus in the future, is structuring our recipes in a way that they can be flexible, that we can make substitutions. You know, if we don't have this particular ingredient, this can be used in its stead. I think that it would be wise for us to have that. Make a list of substitutions. Make a list of recipes, or note on your recipes, so that your family also has the notes that you can leave this item out, or you can substitute this item for it, or have recipes on hand that are very versatile. I'd love to have a recipe that I can make, or that I can make and I can share with y'all, that is a recipe that can easily be made bigger or smaller, that you can substitute, you know, 2 or 3 of the ingredients for something else. And that makes a basic recipe into something that's very versatile, something that that allows you to change things out if if need be. So there's a lot of things that we need to think about. You know, our recipes, are we covered with the substitutions? How are we going to restock? All those things are going to be important things for us to know, important ways for us to source products if something like this was to happen, roll out in the future where there were no imports. You couldn't buy anything that wasn't made in this country. And then facing the fact that once the imports were gone, buying American made, or whatever country you're in, buying what your country makes is important, yes. But if everybody is doing that, then you have to think about, is there enough being produced for everyone? If you think that way, then you begin to think, this is what I need to do. And you come back to the table and you get another plan. And I know we talk about plans a lot, making plans, doing this, doing that. I think it's very important for us to be flexible in our plan making, be willing to adjust, being willing to discover new ways of doing things. That's not just cooking, but that's home repairs. That's making your vehicles last, and that takes ingenuity, and sometimes it takes some studying. You study out what people did during the Great Depression, and you find that there were so many creative people that just made it work. And that's what we'll have to do too, is make it work and depend on our community, be interdependent. That yes, you need them and they need you, that you all work together and provide. Maybe everybody's not going to have a milk cow in their backyard. Maybe everybody's not going to have all the things growing. But if you work together and know who has what, then you can kind of build on that. And you can, if you have this need, you go here. And if you have this need, you go there. And maybe you have something that others can come to when they're in need as well. I think if we plan ahead, then it cuts the fear and it cuts the panic, and you won't catch yourself in there with those that are just raking stuff off into their cart because the panic's there and things aren't going to be there, maybe the next week or two down the line because there's not any imports coming into the country. So I challenge you once again to get your list out, your pantry list. It's pretty easy. I kind of was out and about in the shop today, kind of looking at supplies and taking note of things that I had and things that I didn't have. And Howie, the way we did things was I tried to take care of the supplies as far as, keeping a list and making sure that when we went to purchase that I had those things on the list, and Howie took care of what the farm might need, what our home repair, what we might need for home repairs, and all of those kind of things. So I do have things put back, but it's something to consider. If you had a plumbing issue, or do you have some supplies? Because chances are, if something like this was to happen and there was a run on everything, chances are those things won't be at the big box home improvement stores when you go. Do you have a way? Do you have an extra box fan put back? Need to think about all of the things, and don't overwhelm yourself. Now's an opportunity for you to really talk with your family and consider what you would do so that should it happen, there's no panic. If it doesn't happen, then hey, you don't have anything to worry about, but you had a good conversation with your family as you talked about things and what you could do and making a plan. But if it does happen, then you're not like this, wringing your hands and thinking, what are we going to do? Like you said, the biggest concern, it's not a fear for me, but my biggest weakness would be being able to get prescriptions, because I don't have my prescriptions are like 90 days at a time, and then that's it, till you go back to the doctor and you have all your you know how it works. You get your lab work done, and then you get another prescription, and onward you go. My doctor doesn't write a prescription, just an open-ended prescription. I get it for so many days or so many months, and then I have to go again. So that would kind of be something that I would have to think about, you know, other ways. But each and every one of us are going to be different. Those of you that live in the city, I don't have any kind of experience with that. I don't have any experience with, you know, people, those of you that maybe live in a high rise, or, you know, that live in the heart of a great big city, and that you do things differently than what somebody that lives in a rural area that has probably more storage space or areas to grow. And that's something else that we all need to consider. Maybe you live in the city, and maybe there is a way that you and some of your neighbors could get together and form a neighborhood garden where everybody gardens and participates and pulls weeds and all of the things that goes along with that. Maybe each of you have a raised bed, or 2 or 3 families do grow potatoes in somebody's yard, or you know, corn in somebody else's yard. Whatever it takes. I think that we're going to have to build community, and that we're going to have to love one another. That's something else that it boils down to. Every family has different needs, but if we all love one another and we all look out for one another, then we'll be able to meet the needs. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody just gets to sit back and say, well, I'm just going to live life, and when it happens, then, you know, I'll participate and I'll work with everybody else. That is an unwise way to live. You know, you need to think about your family and prepare for your family, and look well to the ways of your household, all the way out to, do you need an extra set of tires, or maybe you need to invest in a battery charger for your vehicle, or keep an extra antifreeze or oil, or whatever else it is that your vehicle might need. There's a vast supply of things, and a lot of it comes from other areas. So just wanted you to think about that today. What if I woke up tomorrow and there were no more imports, and we had to live on just what this country produced, and how I would be able, or you would be able, to restock when the stocks that you have are depleted? Are you able to regrow? Some of us could regrow, not everything, because we all know that, you know, most of us that are growing gardens, we're still purchasing other items, flour, sugar, coffee, tea. But give it just a little bit of thought and make some plans. Do your own what if. Maybe it could be a family night game. What if? And see what kind of answers your family comes up with. See what grandparents say. See what your children say. And really think about what we would do, where we would go, how we would act. And do everything that you can to keep out of the stores when everybody else is falling apart and acting in fear. And before it's all said and done, probably rage, because we've lost our love for one another. And so rather than being brothers and sisters or being kind individuals, I think that we'll see a lot of rage and a lot of fighting over toilet paper and paper towels and things like that, that we can, although we don't want to, we can do without. There are things that we can make it without. Paper towels, some other paper products, we can make it without that. Use tea towels in your kitchen. Have multiple tea towels and wipe up your messes with those and wash them. So I hope that I gave you a homework assignment that will open your eyes. That will help your family to make some plans, to have some tough conversations, and maybe make some different plans or readjustments. And a plan for restocking should that need arise. Well, I'm Josie, and I love you guys. I really do. Keep looking well to the ways of your household. And until next time, we're gone.